on my plane. Get a little bum. They're gonna steal my bird seeds. Anyway, come out here. It's early in the morning. Put the old Seafire down on the deck here. Get a nice double cup of coffee. Have a nice breakfast with Karen. And think about if it's going to be a flying day. It certainly looks like. Well, we'll make a decision in an hour or so. Get all the loose ends tied up around here, water the plants, and see if we get some air up at the circle burner field.
Hey George, you ready to go flying in there?
Come on, water the garden so we can go flying. Come on. Well, the pollywogs are almost frogs, and we're getting ready to buy some fish. Maybe this week we'll get our koi's. Well, I'll tell you the truth. There's not many things more relaxing than coming out here early in the morning. I'm out here before 7 o'clock. Clean out the pond and just sit back and dream about the Seafire. Dream about whatever it is fun that's still going to be. I don't know. Not many things better than this in life, that's for sure. All right, let's pack up the car. Just give you some idea. Now, last year Robert Ray helped us do all the planning. How many? All the women in the world. Check this out. I'm kind of proud of this garden. The kids helped, and we really have spent. This is really the love of our life here. All of these plants. Oh my God, unbelievable. And of course the pond. Hey, you're having fun. And as if that wasn't enough, when she gets back from work tonight, we got another dozen of plants here. Another 2 dozen. It never ends. Flower Central. Now we're back, and it's a typical, unpredictable circle burner day, but we were real close the last time we were out with this, with getting the trim back on it. And what I did most of it back home. I wound up with an 1.5 ounce spinner. This is one of those Russian spinners. I've got the vertical and the front to back CG just about right. And I still haven't fine-tuned in the compression. I took one flight already and it's way over compressed, so I'm going to add a gasket. Probably going to wind up with 3 gaskets. It's got 2 in there now. 3 will probably be just about right for this plane. Now we needed 3 small and 3 thick. These come in 2 different thicknesses. And to tell you the truth, the motor stock is just so powerful. That's just one of the problems. Now, I have them in various thicknesses, and I'm just curious to see if I can use Super Tiger gaskets on here. Yes, I can. I like the Super Tiger gaskets. They're aluminum, so you don't need as many. So what I'm going to do is get rid of the 2 copper ones I had in there and put a thicker aluminum one. I'm real close already, but I like the aluminum if I have a choice. These are so thin, they're like 4 or 5 thousandths thick. Now, there's no real way that I know, and it may be that you're looking at all these tests and saying, well, what a waste of time. There's no real way I know to kill off the 2-cycle power, and it's pretty evident if you have an excessive whip up in the wind or you're having some kind of problem related to too much power. What'll happen is you try running the motor richer, and now it runs right out of the power band, or you try running 10% fuel, and that makes it even worse because you're trying to run it richer and richer, and yet it's prone to shut off or whatever, just rough stumbles in level flight. But when these motors, any motor, Tiger even, or the double stars, are set up with the compression just right, where it's right on the verge of being just powerful enough, it's a thing of beauty. The motor run kicks in and out, very predictable. Fuel consumption is low. You don't have to buy 10% fuel, and the fuel doesn't act like paint removal when you do get some on a plane. Now, even after putting in an extra, there's 3 shims in here now. It seems like one of the phenomenons on this engine, the Tiger seems like it needs a lot more compression, let's put it that way. Maybe because it's a true Hemi instead of a semi-Hemi. But what happens with this motor, as soon as there's less than 3 gaskets in it, it just turns into a monster. So let's try this one more. We're really losing the air, but I may be able to get this sorted out so that if I see Joe Saturday, I can get some flights on this. It's just a little bit different, and this is why I like to do it all in a test plane, not in a real contest model.
Well, you can see by the flag we've about lost the air here and it's unflyable. But again, I've not traded away one good flying day to do any of this engine testing. It's just been, well, it's like exercise, and we're just getting a good database of knowledge on this motor. Now, you won't believe what happened. This is really terrible. George and I, we did some work on his pond. We fixed his pond. We come back to the house and we're watering the grass, and there's 2 little baby birds off on the edge. Look at this little guy now. We picked them both up, put them in a little box overnight. The one passed away. The one what didn't look so healthy to begin with, he was trembling and shaking. But I got this guy now. This is 2 days. He's become my permanent flying partner, and he loves being fed with an eyedropper, and he can almost fly. Now, I don't know how long I'm supposed to keep him before I let him go, but he can fly about 2 feet and then falls back down on the ground like a nose-weight stunt ship. Now here's the routine. Check this out. I get him warm milk. Come on. Come on, he's camera shy. Hey! Don't be camera shy. I'm not a cow. Why are you giving me milk? Actually, I called up my sister, who's a real animal lover. Look at him eating. This is unbelievable. Now we have these birds come into the bird feeder look at that mouth. Come on, eat it. Eat it. I crushed up some bird seed the other night. Maybe I'm force feeding them. Come on. Come on. I was almost crying when the first one, the other one really didn't look so healthy to begin with. Hey. Yeah, that's it. Karen says this is my motherly instinct. Come on. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. I'm feeding you. See, but I figure this. If I can get him to fly away, get a little bigger. He just needs to be a little bigger to fly away. That's it. Come on. What'll happen is, every time I see a bird up at my bird feeder, I won't know if it's him or not. Well, what do you want? A Burger King or what? Come on. Come on. We made him an egg. He didn't like an egg. He's like me. He hates eggs. Come on. Come on. Oh, man. Anyway.
You better be good. I'm not kidding.
I'm not kidding. He's sleeping. Come on. And I know you want to fly away. I know. You got loose in the shop before. Flew into the Spitfire, flew into the VCRs, flew into my desk, went into it where the epoxy is, where there's some epoxy was dripping. He got all epoxy on one foot. He was kind of gooking. Oh, I had to clean him. Oh, baby. He's so cute. Anyway, I hope in a couple of days he gets big enough he'll fly away. I don't need any more child support payments.
And I know you want a college education, too.
He's cute. He really is cute. He's a little sucker.
Hey, don't wink at me. Take me to the flying field. I'll show you how to fly.
Another fun day. Absolutely beautiful, unflyable day. The kind you only get at Middlesex. Anyway, we want to test some props. We got some tuning parts, some compression changes. But I don't have any high hopes for this day, Joe.
And make sure, first guy that lands in a puddle pays for lunch.
Only problem is there's no pedals.
Not today.
So you're off the hook. All right. Let's see if you got the prop tight today. Here it comes again. Oh. I don't know, but I don't think we're ever going to get a decent day here. We have hit about 5 or 6 really lumpy days here. And it's really at best difficult to trim a new plane. This morning I already changed the head on a motor, up the compression a little bit. Just to get through these conditions, I really have to make up a set of short lines too. It's just lumpy. But summer's coming, I guarantee it. Karen promised me, summer is coming. And Joe's making real good progress on this. He's got a prop that's working real well for him now. The motor power output is just about right, even for these conditions. But we would like to get some good air to do a little fine tuning on that Seafire. But I don't think it's coming today. I just get the feeling I'm waiting at the bus stop for the train here. And of course, the other interesting thing this morning, we get here, and of course the geese are ready to attack us too. But the latest thing on the East Coast here is this overpopulation of Canadian geese. And they basically turn every park into a jungle habitat kind of thing. You can see the wind blowing away now. This is the latest start I can ever remember getting on a flying season. And it's really been like a handicap. Really need to get out and get some flying. I really wanted to fly that double start today too, but I guess it just isn't meant to be. Anyway, we're not going to make this an all day. So I can see already we're going to be headed to the bagel place nice and early today. Very little point in hammering away out here. This wind, I don't believe it. Anyway, I guess we're looking at a short day here. I already have a head on here that's got a little more compression. I've been fooling with the lead outs back and forth, but the air again is so bumpy. I got a little trim tab on the wing. We're going to need a little steam job in that tip. It's really frustrating though with the air so bad. You're really at a handicap trying to trim a plane out in this air. Well, common sense has finally set in here. The air is so unpredictable here right now. And we don't want to ginch anything up, but we did have a little day. How many props did you get to try today, Joe? Oh, I wanted that tip weights. Tell me about that.
Okay. This material is what's known as duck seal. It works and it looks just like clay. This is what they use in the refrigeration industry to seal suction and vapor tubing as it exits cold boxes and so forth, so you don't get heat loss or condensation or what have you. It stays sticky, pliable in hot weather, cold weather, and it weighs about the same as clay, and it's a nice little deal to work with. Yeah. I usually roll it up in little balls, 1/4 ounce, 1/2 ounce, 1 ounce, put them in a little plastic deal and squeeze them so I know, if I just adjust weights. But it's cleaner than clay, and it wipes off.
Yeah, well, we were trying that on the Seafire. We had tried some, just to see if we could get the CG a little further back as one of the tests. But the air is just too unpredictable. And you're coming around and it's up and down and everywhere. It's a good day to go for a bagel. Anyway, off to the bagelry. This is what you do on an unflyable day. Your wife puts you to work. Look at all these pots and baskets. Oh my God.
Oh no.
Oh no.
He goes again.
Oh no. Steve DeJulia says he wants to see that shirt more often in the video.
Okay, I'll work on it.
He's never going to give you any more. Little new rose bush that my mom gave me for a little token of gift here on Mother's Day. Anyway, so breezy and unpredictably windy. Look at this rose is blowing up the side of the house. This really has been an enjoyable, hey, this is the tree they gave me for Father's Day. Let's see, I guess the point of all this, what is the point, Wendy? The point is years ago, I didn't have all these projects to work on. Look at these hanging baskets she made. And it really, on a day that you're very disappointed in the day of flying like today, I ready to slip my wrist with the way the air is around here. Anyway, you come home and you got, I don't know, something to work on. And I think it does make you enjoy the hobby even more, that you have more than one thing to work on. So, if that's worth anything to you, fine. If it isn't, say I'm an idiot. Who cares? Everybody else does. Anyway, we really did do a lot. You can't imagine how much work this was. And we had the kids working here. Everybody takes part in this. It's been a lot of fun. And like I said before, this is really just complements the modeling so much. Coming home, I know, baby. I don't know. It looks pretty good to me. Oh, you got more stuff. I'm going to be planting all day tomorrow. Look at all this stuff. Baskets.
Gotta hang those in.
Woo! I'm impressed. You've done a good day's work here.
Always do a good day's work.
We need fish. We need to get some fish soon. Anyway, this duck sealing stuff that we've been using just to see how this would fly with the CG a little further back, and it did fly a lot better. I was really impressed with how little tail weight it took. This stuff is a little bit lighter, I think, than clay. But anyway, just having a CG further back. Now the reason for that was the double star, of course, is almost 2 ounces lighter, 1.5 ounces. So I wanted to be prepared before I set this up and go out for a whole day of flying. I want to kind of get a little feel for what I'm in for, and I think that's going to work just fine when we get to test it. Later next week, we'll have the double star in here, I hope. And I hope we have some more other. Now, I had originally planned, of course, and plans never do seem to work out around here. I had originally planned a bunch of trim changes today, and then to run out to the field in the morning and try to get some flying in, because it really does look like a nice day. But of course, in the life of Wendy, nothing is predictable. Nothing is even reasonable. And what happened is, we looked in the paper, and one of the people that's been our neighbor for a long time in the town over there is a koi breeder, koi fish. And so I saw today he just opened up his, I'd really like to go over there and show you this. This is an unbelievable thing. He's got an Olympic-sized pool in the back of his house, and he's got over 2,000 kois over there. So we went over, and this is the time of year he opens up his business, and it's open to the public. It's an unbelievable thing. It's like that train show down in, where the hell is it, in Pennsylvania. If anybody's interested, I doubt that many people are interested in these backyard ponds, but only because I think it's something that I'm real proud of or real happy with or whatever. I don't even know what the right word is. But anyway, we did go over this morning and we checked the whole thing out, and we bought 6 fish, and they're out there floating in bags right now, just waiting to be released into the pond. I said this before, I carefully calculated out the amount of clay it would take to balance a Super Tiger, so that when I convert this to the double star, the motor will be that much lighter, and it's basically 1.75 ounces lighter. I can take the clay off the tail, and the CG will stay the same. And I've been going back and forth the last day, even though it was rough air and it was not rough, it was unflyable. I had really had a lot of back and forth, and this is one of the things. Now this plane, because it has the long tail moment arm, again, I think one of the things I'm going to have to try. In fact, I ought to try it if I can get done with the episode with the fish today. Because I have this hatch, I can convert it. It's 1-to-1 right now. I can convert it to 4-to-5 or 9-to-10 just by moving the push rod in the hole. And that's one of the things I want to try. I definitely want to play with the CG and try getting it a little further back, a little further forward until I fine-tune that. I haven't really played around with the lead outs much. I've moved them back and forth a few times. Haven't found any radical change one way or the other. But that's pretty much the way the Spitfire trimmed that. It wasn't critical to lead out location. I don't know if that's part of the phenomenon of the elliptical wing. You got so many props now that there must be 8 or 9 props that I haven't even had on a plane yet. I had this muffler, which is a real unrestrictive tongue muffler, and what I'm going to do, this motor anyway, was happier with that muffler than it was with the black one. And again, you can look over here and see I've made a list of things I want to do on this. But one of the things now I'm going to do is match the holes to this. Now the 4 outside holes are tapped for 632 screws, so if I go too far, I can just block 1 or 2 off, and I can get the restriction back that usually increases the pressure. As you slow down the exhaust escaping, of course the motor gets quieter. At the same time it's getting quieter, more pressure is being fed into the pressure fitting, but the bad side of it is at some point in time you're also trapping a lot of heat. So the best way of all, of course, as we always try to engineer everything up, is to have it variable, so you can vary it right at the field to suit conditions. And that way has worked well. So I have this one, and this one can come off. I can replace it with this one. I can drill out the 4. I always drill the 4 middle holes out and leave the end ones tapped for 632 screws. And that's how we worked with Strega, and actually that's what really wound up working the best on the old Spit. And here's what's nice about this whole thing too. If I want to at some point in time, I need to weigh this whole power package, motor, muffler, prop, spinner. This whole power package. I can take this whole power package out and put it in this airplane. Now the advantage of doing that is, but what I do have to know is the difference in weight if the prop is heavier because the prop is above the CG. This is the head that's the lightest of the heads that has most of the fins machined off. We're going to be making some more heads. In fact, Joe K has it programmed into his machine already, into his NC machine, to machine up our own heads, which I hope are going to fit double stars and tigers at the same time. But this material that Joe has at least supplied me with here, I have a couple ounces of it anyway. By carefully calculating out what I'm going to be doing, I can measure the CG with the Tiger where I get it, when I get it to fly exactly with the feel that I want. I can measure it. Now, if I put the lighter engine in, I won't need the clay. If I even was to put a K&D in here, which is a little heavier than a Tiger, again, I can put this right in the plastic bag that the motor is stored in. I can have the needle valve set, the muffler that worked with the right amount of restriction and the right fuel consumption. This is now part of the power package. If you're going to use mufflers and props and things that vary in weight, you also would like to have, at least if you're going to fine-tune it and really get it to the razor edge, an ability to make it that you don't lose the feel. Now, a lot of times what I would do is I'd go to the circle burner field, just as a good example. In the circle burner field, carbon fiber props with a lot of pitch always work well there. The problem is you put one on a plane, now the top is heavy and it flies like that. Or you need to change the wheels, and now it flies like this. Well, yeah, there's always, when you're playing with the vertical CG at the same time as the horizontal CG, you can really run into a problem. But the nice thing about the clay is, the freezer clay I'll call it, I can put this on the bottom of the plane, I can put it on the top. I can also do another experiment that I've done with Tsunami, and I know I have this on video. I took 10 ounces of this stuff one time. That was clay though, it wasn't the freezer material. And I took right here and just molded on 5 ounces and 5 ounces on the bottom to see how the plane would fly at 70 ounces. And then took 1 ounce off at a time with a spoon to see just where the performance got better and better and better and better. And it turned out on that plane, it was the best when all the clay was off of it. Now, I don't know if that's going to be the case with this, but this plane is light enough, and it's certainly variable enough that I have enough options of changing weight, heavier spinners, lighter spinners, heavier heads, lighter heads, bigger wheels, 2-inch wheels, 2 1/4, 2 1/2, shorter landing gear, longer landing gear. And if that wasn't enough, I have all the parts. For instance, I could take the landing gear right off the Spitfire. They fit. I can take the spinners, the props. You see, that's what's nice about working on a development program where you do the same plane for a couple of years in a row. At some point in time, it really pays. There really is a benefit, and Jim Greenaway used to tell me about this all the time, of running a development program where each one got a little bit better than the one before it, and having a controls variable on the back, having a CG variable, having a vertical CG variable. A lot of things, a lot of choices, and I hope we're going to get out to the field tomorrow. Basically, today's going to be another one of those gardening days, but we get out to the field tomorrow, we're going to be flying this guy, and I hope get some more time on it. Now this is the birth of our new fish. We have 6 little baby koi's. I don't know how big they are, 6 inches, 5 inches, but this is basically the first time they've ever been in the pond. The bag is floating to acclimate them to the water temperature, and a momentous occasion in my little pond, the history of my pond. Anyway, I hope you don't mind sharing this little adventure with us. We certainly have enjoyed it. Come to celebrate our new fish, the birth of our new fish, the MetLife blimp. Snoopy! Right over the house.
You went there?
They have broke the bonds of Earth and they are free. There's 6 of them in there, but I can't find the other one. I guess he went flying with Midgley. Each one has a name. Believe me, Karen picked these out. These silly things. They are in there. We have witnessed a momentous occasion in Karen gardening here. Back to flying. Let's go flying. The hell with this.
Now, in today's mail, before we actually get working on this, and we do have, it looks like a rainy day, we're going to have all day to work on this and do the trim changes. I guess we can't even start the day off without a phone call. Believe this? Back to reality here. Got this from Lou Klein, and I want to just read a little quick thing here. This is about the Northeast Championship Series. They tabulate and Louis did that last year. Tabulate and award prizes for the top intermediate, top advanced, and top expert. Top intermediate is, let's just call him the rude dog, Rudy Rybeck. Let me just read this. So top class goes to Dwayne Rothman. Sorry, Rudy. Can't even read without my glasses. Okay, these two guys traveled the contest together and flew a very competitive season. Great job. Advanced class was a real hot one. The winner here is Lenny Melito, accumulating 33 points. Lenny edged out Mike, the I Fix Anything Chioda. By the way, Mike, I'll give you a tsunami if you can fix it. And winner in expert was Wendy. Now, rather than give me a trophy, what he did, he wound up calling Karen, and they wound up giving me a gift certificate for a free dinner at the local pizza place, Cafe Capri, which is, try eating a trophy sometime if you think. Karen throws them out anyway. So anyway, Lou, thanks for doing the tabulating, and Rudy, Dwayne, Mike Chioda, everybody that participated in this, thanks a whole lot. It was a lot of fun. Also want to pass this on, and if anybody is maybe interested in this is from Lou Klein. His latest invention, I don't know, he's going to help promote this. I'm not really sure if Lou is the inventor or not the inventor, but it's kind of like a sledgehammer. And I thought maybe we could use these for pull testing planes. We just walk up to anybody with a 60 and hit it with an axe and see if it breaks. Well, they did that at the Nats last year and it broke. Anyway, good luck to Lou, and thanks for doing this tabulating job. And most of all, hey, now I want to spend the rest of the day trying to get this into a different state of trim. I have a little list with all the things I want to do, and this will be an excellent day to get all these little things taken care of since it's raining.
thing I want to do is change the control ratio. We have 3 choices here. We're in 1-to-1 now. We have 4-to-5 and 9-to-10. Well, what I want to do is go to the opposite extreme, which would be 4-to-5. That would mean the elevators would move more. And as you move the elevators more and more, 2 things happen. You lose some lift off the wing because the flaps aren't moving as much. And in this case, the plane is light enough. I don't think that's a factor. But you also get a more violent turn at the tail, and since this is a longer tail and smaller elevators, we may wind up with a ratio other than 1-to-1. So that's the first thing on my trim changes to do today, is let's give the old 4-to-5 a try. If you notice on the Spitfire the elevators are a lot larger. Okay, and when we tried different ratios, we wound up back to 1-to-1. But the Seafire has the smaller elevators. And what I was looking for with the longer tail moment was a little more inherent stability, and knowing that I had those 3 choices. Now, had I been able to run 9-to-10 or 4-to-5 on this, I would not have made that trim change, but I know I'm at whatever is the limit on this plane. So having the smaller elevators, the larger stab will give me a little bit better, hopefully, level flight stability. It's really handy to have one of these little fixtures that you can lay the plane on its side for working on it. Just makes it real handy to do the work. To pull the solder joint off, move the push rod and put it in the other link, in the other hole. And this is the kind of thing when you build a plane, you say, oh gee, that's a lot of another couple hours of work and I got to make a hatch and everything. But now, if you didn't have that and you wanted to make this change, you'd have to cut into the airplane. Instead of that, we just have an Allen screw and it's done. And as I just said, and I'm sure it makes an impression on people, many planes I've wanted to make trim changes on, especially when you're making a change that you know you're going to want to have a lot of adjustments, a lot of adjustability. Having this little hatch back here is worth every minute it takes to make it. Now I can look in there and see the 3 choices that I have. Just to approach this, you'd go to try the 9-to-10 setup. Well, yeah, but then even if it worked better, you'd want to try the 4-to-5. What this does, I may as well go right to the 4-to-5 and see if it overturns. If it overturns, I can go back 1 notch. Because basically, before I put the double star in here, I want to have all the choices. I want to know that the plane is at its maximum turn rate, and then I can have the clay and the motor as an alternative to the double star. If I even go into this hatch, of course there's no oil inside yet. The plane gets older, there may be some. I want to clean off all the grease. This is the PJ, the chain loop. Get rid of all the grease. I also have another choice here. Now if I was happy with the ratio, then I have another choice, is I can try slop, no slop, less slop, more slop. The only thing I'm not really ever going to try back here, and of course there's other opinions. I don't say that mine is the only one. Other people enjoy having ball links in their plane and all kind of little adjustments. I don't really even consider that as one of my choices. Get all the grease off of there, I'll heat the soldering iron and just move the rod and resolder it. Get the washer unsoldered. What I try to accomplish here is to have it that even if this little retainer was to fall off or the solder break, the push rod can't come out, and I've accomplished that. I can't even get the push rod out pressing on it, let alone with centrifugal force. So that's a good redundancy system. So now what I have to do is reach in there with some little forceps and give this a little bit of a twist to get it out. Whenever you want to make a copy of this, you want to get the controls all the way forward. Get some little hook nose pliers to help push that out. And because I've built the clearance so tight here, it's tight for a reason. I don't want to have this any chance. There it is. And get the rest of any little grease that might be in here with some M600. Now if we were to wind up using this clay, we have a couple of choices. We can make a little lead weight container back here. We can, and that would make it further back by quite a bit, so we need less total weight. So you can see a lot of things happen inside this hatch area. I can even glue the weight in here. If I need the weight low in the CG, I can get it low. If I need it high, I can get it high. But since I still don't have the final set of landing gear made, we're still using a test set of landing gear,
this is really not something I'm going to worry about now. Now see, the whole object of this is so, even if that solder joint were to fail, centrifugal force you hope would hold this or have a fighting chance of holding it. Everything up and get ready to just resolder this. One of the good ways of holding this push rod in place, because you don't want to have any side-to-side slop, is I get a little piece of plywood underneath here, and it holds the push rod all the way up, and now I'm free to solder this washer back on. It's a little 3/48 nut with the hole drilled out. Again, there's times this hatch is worth its weight in gold, and right now this is one of the times. Like not to get any solder inside the plane or burn the paint. A little bit of tin foil helps there. You can kind of bend it around all the areas where the solder might fall. Don't want to get any of the flux or solder in there. Of course, no substitute for Stay Bright solder. Deflux with baking soda and water, as we always do. You like to see when you're done a nice shiny joint. Plenty of defluxing. Baking soda and water. You forget to do that, you're going to get some corrosion in here for sure as time goes by. Just trying to get all the ginge out of here. I give this a couple of coats of old motorcycle chain lube, let them soak in. And if you didn't have this hatch, even if the purpose of this was not to adjust ratios, which we just did in about 5 minutes, if you just did it so you could adjust the slop, it would be worth it. If you just did it so you could look inside and see if you were getting any unnecessary wear on the controls or replace the bushing, the way we've engineered this hatch up, it just seems like it's a real nice way to do it. And we have several other ways which are not that nice. But this is the best one I have so far. That hatch, we could also lengthen or shorten the push rod at that push rod joint to equalize the turn, even though this guy seems like on initial impression that it turns pretty equal. But even if it didn't, it's not the end of the world. You can always make a little fine adjustment. The thing I don't like to have is anything with threads there. What I want to do is I want to match these holes up, and I'll get the micrometer out. You notice these 4 holes in the middle are a little bit larger. I want to match them up to this. This muffler definitely worked better, and then I can clean this one all up and get this one black anodized. This will be the backup one. So we'll have one of each, and we're obviously going to make one very similar to this for the double star eventually. In fact, we're probably going to have to go down to a machine shop this week and make up some special parts. This will be a good project to fill in time with. Okay, these holes are 125. Now I always clean everything out, of course, with M600, get all the chips out. This relationship, the relationship that these holes bear to how much muffler pressure goes in, is pretty much the same as when you have the stinger on a tube muffler or a tune pipe. It regulates how much pressure is going to go back into the tank. It also is going to regulate how much heat goes back into the motor. In this case, we've made it just a little bit less restrictive.
The 4 in the middle of 125, it needs a tap for 632. Now, if we even wanted to go more, we could take 2 more of these, since I've never had more than 2 632 screws in a muffler at one time. And I always wind up, at least at this point in time, with a little gasket in here. We're not running into a heat problem. But if we were running into a heat problem, one of the first things I'd eliminate is this little gasket, and then the muffler itself can act as a radiator in hot weather. In the meantime, this keeps inside the cowling nice and dry, nice and clean. A little tip, anytime you're using a gasket, you want to really carefully torque one side, then the other side. All Tigers seem to have a rough surface there. And without the gasket, they always seem to ooze just a little bit of oil inside the cowling. Of course, you can cure that to some degree, just a little bit, by running a milling machine over it. In this case, we haven't done that yet. This is not going to be one of our primary motors anyway, so this is really just a test motor. But we will have it, once it's done, we will have it as a backup one, and we're going to be, obviously in the next couple of tapes, be setting up a couple more motors even just for backups. Right, thank God it stopped raining. We're going to try to get up to the club field, get a couple little preliminary flights on this control ratio and the tail weight, and maybe this will be, maybe this will be ready to do the double start tomorrow. I don't know, but a couple of flights today would give me some good data for the little computer. I want to see how that ratio works out, how this, well, the whole thing with the muffler, if it's going to be real close in power to what we want. We've been varying that back and forth. Everything else seems to be pretty close. We've got the CG close to where we hopefully want it, and now we just need to get the combination of what's going to vary, what's going to change when we do one motor to the other. Now, let's see if anybody's up the club field. Now, believe it or not, I would almost count this as a flyable day, except it looks like it's going to rain any minute. One of the first things I did is I took a flight, and I wanted to skip right through this because a lot of this is redundant. A flight with the 1 ounce of tail weight, just to get a feel for it. And what happened is I had to close the handle down quite a bit, of course. And I've worked my way up to, little by little, taking all the tail weight off. And we're almost back to where we started from, where the CG was originally. Now, the only problem that I ran into so far today, and this is the kind of thing that'll make you crazy, the grass was mowed, but because it rained, it's already a foot high already. So what I'm going to do is bend my gear back to grass position. Last time we flew this, we were over Targo, back up to grass position. And I'm going to put the bigger wheels on just to give me a little bit less chance that it's going to nose over and break the rudder. And I have done that already on planes, so just to play it safe. Now, in the flights I've already got this morning, we're running into a trim situation with the plane that really is the best of all worlds. And the situation is that the plane overturns in both directions. Nice and clean, nice and neat. It turns tighter than I really anticipated. So what I'm going to start doing with the next flight, once I get the wheels on here, I really don't want to nose this sucker over. When a plane turns too tight in either dimension, rather than changing the CG, and we're really back to where the Spitfire was originally, what I really want to do is start closing the handle down one notch at a time, one a flight. Now, what I do, I take these, most of the damage I've ever done to a plane has been landing in grass. It'll catch it, and this field is terrible, and it'll nose over. So just by bending these gear a ½ inch or so forward, and I'm going to put the bigger wheels on, the 2 1/4 inch wheels. I'm not going to fool around, because the grass really is, with all the rain we've had, it's unbelievable. Now you can see the variation in the angle of the first one, so now I'll just take the one on the inside and bend it to match the one on the outside, and then exchange the wheels. Now I always have these notches in the table that I can use. Here we got one up here. Or you can carry the vise with you, of course. Here's where I always carry a nice supply of junk with me to the field. When you're trimming out a plane, you never know. There's a bag of wheels. You never know what wheels you're going to wind up using, and we got plenty to choose from here. Now we also, while we're
sitting here, I want to reduce the compression. Now, what I'm trying to avoid doing is using 8 or 10 gaskets. Anyway, this plane really is having some unique, and they're very positive trim things, and it's got that lightning bullet corner that I love. Now, it didn't have it when the controls were at 1-to-1, so I surmise that with that size elevator, and of course I haven't tried the position in between yet, that I've really accomplished getting quite a bit of corner in one little minor adjustment. So I think the rule is, or the lesson is, anytime you make a prototype, give yourself that leeway with the hatch. Now I have one of the real low compression heads here, which will be a good time to test them and get a couple of these working. Now what this also is going to allow me to do is the double star being lighter is going to even give me more range of turn that I would not normally have. But if I don't need it, in other words, if I need nose weight anyway, it would really be ridiculous to put the double star in here and then put a 4-ounce muffler on it or something that I wouldn't be taking advantage of the lighter weight. What I think it's going to give me is a lot of choices of trim, a lot of range, and when I get a couple hundred flights on this guy, I think he's really going to be something special. It's really got that one characteristic that I just love. It just turns like lightning and locks dead flat. Now we actually are getting something accomplished here. And I guess one of the things you can pick up off of the trim. I know a lot of people, they don't go about trimming a plane in a methodical way. They just go out and change things randomly and never know if the motor has too much compression or not. Well, if you can get the compression nice and soft and get that nice 2/4 brake, get the tank shim nice, the pitch and the prop right, you get all these things on a day like today where it's not really a stunt pattern day. I'm not out here trying to pull low bottoms or anything. I think you really do come out ahead of the game when push comes to shove. What I like to do is put in a glow plug that I know has been in an engine when I'm going to be fooling around like this. And I know I don't have a plug that's got a defective miss in it or something that I'm just not going to be willing to deal with. Now usually the way you can tell that is take the battery off, and if you lose RPM, you know, you just throw that one away. Been using Thunderbolt RC longs, Foxes and Sigs, and I like the Thunderbolt. So far the best. This is a real low compression head. This should really be a nice soft power. The day is actually turning out better than I thought it would. I really didn't have any high hopes on the way up here. I always look at that little river, and if I see ripples and bubbles and things happening here, I don't get too excited about the day of flying. But anyway, we are getting some testing done. And what I hope this will allow me to do, at least when that day comes that we do have some really nice air and we can get some stunt patterns in and start shooting for bottoms and things like that, what's going to happen is I'll have all this nonsense out of the way. I haven't started any of the testing with the lead outs. There's still a lot of stuff left to do here. And the sun going in and out isn't helping either. The air is getting unstable. Now one thing as always happens, this is always the way it is, what I've run into is the low compression head is a little bit on the low side, the high compression one is a little on the high side, so I'm going to have to wind up with 2 gaskets in the high compression head, or I'm going to have to go home and do a little machining on the low compression head. I want to wind up, at least I know now what that's telling me is where the two bookends of this performance are. And because I want to get this motor fine-tuned and in a plastic bag, all set to go. That's my goal here before I shoot the double star in here. I really would like to get this fine-tuned. At least, and see, this is what happens when you go to another contest and you want to switch motors, or you go to the Nats or the team trials. You don't want to have to take 9 flights to get the head shimmed and figure out what prop should go on there and all of that stuff. You'd like to kind of have it
Figured out ahead of time if possible.
Okay, a couple of things while we have this apart. It's really going to be productive. I want to get the tank final shimmed about a 16th. I hope that's going to be, bring it back to reality a little bit. I can go around all the engine bolts, tighten the engine bolts, clean everything up, make sure all my little set screws are tight. Basically, though, the reason I did this is to get the tank shimmed. Without the tank shimmed right, everything else, and it's only...
Now, another, this is beautiful. They predicted a beautiful sunny day. I tried to get everything ready yesterday, and of course get up this morning, it's pouring, and the prediction is rain all day. So I'm going to try to take advantage of some of the things we can do in the shop, and believe me, we have plenty. Now we have him ready, yes, actually we had it ready yesterday. We were ready to go. We thought we were going to have a good day today. Ready for what I hope is going to be another productive trim day as soon as we can get some weather, or hopefully that the field won't be underwater, but that's basically ready to go today. And I guess there's a point here. The point of always is time management, how to use your time productively. This is one of the complaints I hear all the time. Oh, I don't have enough time to do a nice finish. I don't have enough time to do this or do that or whatever. Well, you really have the same amount of hours that other people have. Maybe you're just not using them as productively as possible. And I remember a long conversation with Rudy Ryback, and he was telling me how one of the things he picked up off the tape, I guess very obviously, is how to use the time you have productively. Now, just looking around at this, I had given this a couple extra days to dry, and this is the silver filler that I want to try sanding out. I'm not going to be able to see, now here's the thing, I'm not going to be able to put any more filler on this on a day when it's raining, but I can get all the sanding done. Well, I got the motor out of the Red Baron, so we're pretty much ready, and we got some cool projects to work on here. This is all set to go. So see, this is the thing, there probably 1 or 2 more days of using a Tiger, I'll be ready to give that guy a test. All ready to go, muffler's all cleaned up. One of the neat things that just came in is this looks like a plug. I have to talk to Dave and see exactly what he wants to do with this. Whether he wants me to coat this with epoxy, make a fiberglass cowl, I'm sure that's what he wants to do. But then we'll be making a rubber mold, and that's kind of a neat looking cowl. And one of the things that'll be nice is that'll be one extra cowl we have in our inventory. We got some more light spinners coming out of there. That's going to be another thing we'll be working on soon. I also got, and this is kind of, I guess, kind of neat. Dave, of course, has a professional vacuum forming machine. And this looks like one thing that might or might not be doable. I'll have to cut this out and see the next time we need a cowling for anything, if we can be making them off of this mold. Now, he's obviously got that technology down pat. This is another thing we were thinking about, is wheel pants that aren't fiberglass at all. Now these, I've had trouble with these, trying to get paint to stick. The problem with all of this plastic stuff is, first of all, it's not really light. This is kind of heavy material. Probably for RC it's fine. But you can see in an application, I know paint sticks to this stuff like iron, because you can paint the canopy and it never peels, or I've never seen it peel off the canopy. So this is a good material. It's certainly better than this, and I've tried auto primer and etching this and sanding it, and it's very hard to get paint to stick. At least I don't have the technology to get that paint to stick. That's another exciting thing. And there's other things up here. I got some work done on. This is our fiberglass cowl. Some little spots I need to touch up and sand. Again, the advantage of having a day like today is I can just kind of relax, get everything sanded and ready to go, so when we do have some weather, I'll be able to make the maximum use of the time that I have. Now, one of the good tricks that I've found is take a towel if you're going to sand filler. This way you don't wind up having the stuff go all over the place. Start with the little pieces, spread out a towel. Now when you're done with one piece, you can take this outside, shake it, get all the dust out of the shop. It minimizes the amount of dust that's in the shop during a sand out of something like this. Now if it was a little bit nicer day, hey, obviously one of the things we could do is be outside in a nice sunny laying in a lawn chair doing this, but not going to happen today. Now it looks like, because this is dried a few days, it looks like this is just powdering right off, so give me some hope anyway that we've, not trying to invent anything here, I'm just trying to come up with a way maybe we can save one step in the finishing process, and if we can't, we haven't lost anything. It's certainly not going to take any more time. And actually the silver does leave a good, I would be thinking possibly we're only one coat away from being ready to put some color on this. Now the rudder's really coming out nice. The parts that are, I guess we did a pretty good job of sanding this before we actually got into the filler, because the filler is really, the key to all filler is letting it dry. If you can let it dry for a month instead of a day, a week instead of, some shorter amount of time, you're always going to be ahead of the game. And you can just, I just want to show, you can see that this is just powdering right off and nothing at all clogging up the sandpaper, so that's a good sign. Yeah, so far so good with this. Again, I think this is going to be one of the things maybe worth doing a little more experimenting with. And I don't know if we're going to, I don't know how much of this is because we sprayed the filler on, but it really seems to be powdering off nicely. Even in the hinge pockets, which are usually real difficult to do. Again, anytime you can save even one step in a long finish, it'll be interesting to see what the weight penalty is, if any, doing it this way. Remember, the old test. There's always a test when you're sanding filler. The test is if you see it balling up on a sandpaper, and it's not coming off like powder, you have a problem. In this case, this looks like I'll be able to get the whole thing done in one day. Sand out the whole filler, just coming right off. Again, the trick is always, how much do you leave on? Well, you certainly wouldn't want to see these little moon craters, so this will probably need one more coat to really bring it up. But that's really an improvement. I think that's a big improvement over the way we've been doing it. Okay, this is just would like to do a little comparison of the sprayed on silver filler and a piece that's sanded out, the same size piece. It's roughly, I'm guessing right now, 15-20 minutes to do one section, so we'll probably, maybe with the exception of the mainframe, be able to finish this in this session. Anyway, this stuff really is sanding out nice.
And walking around with a face 11 miles long. Now you know that you can.
doing pretty good. Now, I always like to keep track of any little problems I run into. So far, none. I haven't even had to change the piece of sandpaper. This has all been done with one little piece of sandpaper. One more surface to do here, and we'll hopefully be looking at maybe 2 hours here of, well, maybe 2.5 hours of sanding. Finish this up and we can get on to the main frame. Before we start sanding the mainframe, I want to go around and look for, now it looks right here like we have a bubble. Yeah, it's soft. I'm going to slit that, probe a bunch of little holes in it and get some thin CA in it before I even sand it out. President Nixon calling. There's just no real firm answer on fillets. I don't know that anybody ever did good fillets. I think when you do, it's just good luck. Anyway, 1 million pinholes in the bubbles. This is the way we usually address this. And right up until an hour before going for appearance judging, I guess you just have to keep the pointy blade and the CA handy. Just no answer. Say you and your Spanish eyes wait for me. Say you and your Spanish eyes wait for me. Anyway, we do have the fillet test on here of the aeropoxy light. Be interesting to see how that. Actually, nothing on the aeropoxy came up, so maybe we are closing in on having a little bit better fillet technique here. Even after knocking this down once, the suckers still start to bubble up. I'm just going to give this 2 or 3 coats and really press it in. But it's just some places that what it is. See, it's always good to do this first before sanding out, because then you can get the sanding right up into the corner. And we'll see how these, again, those aeropoxy light fillets work out. Interesting to see. Again, sometimes I think the biggest single thing with any kind of filler coat is knowing just exactly how much to leave on so that you don't waste a lot of time and energy, or that you don't duplicate and sand it all off and have to do it all over. You really just develop a little touch for exactly how much to leave on, exactly how long it should take. While I'm doing this, I'm looking for little imperfections that may need a little shot of that green stuff or some spackle. So far, though, it's been pretty well sanded out already. Around the glass work, it can always use a little extra sanding.
And that should be about how long it takes to do one section like that. I don't know if you can really see how quickly this is powdering off, but it really is working well. I don't know if we've stumbled upon a little improvement in our finishing system. And by the way, the fillets, can't believe the fillets here. This epoxy-like stuff, that aeropoxy, looks like it's really going to be a good part of our future. Assuming this lifts for a year and doesn't crack, chip, or peel. Isn't that the way they warranty things? Anyway, it's really a joy to sand filler when it powders off like this. Now before I start the wing, I want to block this up in such a way so I don't bust the rudder. Every time I wind up doing this without the, usually I would use this, but it's got oil on it from the last time we went flying, and I'm not crazy about getting any oil on this. Actually, this finish is surprising me. This is turning out to be, and this may be something worth writing about for Stunt News. This may be one of the finishes or the little breakthroughs that you find all the time. This was, and I'm just guessing, normally it would take me about 4 to 5 times as long to sand out the silver. Now I don't know if because it was sprayed, again I'd have to do a test, or the other thing, maybe not because it's sprayed, maybe the thing is that it's been sitting out in the garage so long and had plenty of time to dry. But either way, this is a real improvement. This is something worth trying if you're up for a little experiment. It's just amazing to me how this is powdering off. This is really a breakthrough for me. Now I'm just guessing the time saving, and one of the small things is not having to sand out any brush strokes or any hairs or anything too. Remember we were experimenting with those painting sponges, and that seemed to work as a little bit of a help too. And the ultimate goal is to get this thing down to where virtually everybody in a reasonable amount of time can have a really nice finish. And that would be my life's goal if I had one, that the day comes you go to the Nats and everybody has got a Walt Tray type of finish on a plane. You know, you could just get some idea of what's going on. This is really working well. Now I want to clean this whole thing up with M600. And having seen how this sanded out, I'm kind of enthusiastic about it. One of the things I want to try, now normally if I was going to be doing I don't know, a more complex finish, I guess, and maybe I don't even have to do this, because I'm going to be doing this with acrylic colors. This is all going to be acrylic colors. Whenever you do a foam wing plane, acrylic lacquer is a really good choice, especially if you want to do some intricate paint work. Now one of the things I want to try, I'm going to mask off the canopy and just shoot the canopy. The reason for that is, by the way, I'm just wiping this off with M600. The thing that I want to see is maybe I can get away without adding any paint under this, and the hope for that would be to keep this light. This sucker is really light. This is about 5 ounces lighter than the lightest pattern master I've ever made. And I really would like to not add any paint I don't have to here. Anyway, you can see the last of the dust comes off. We'll be ready to mask this guy off. And that's just about how much material stayed on.
Now the whole thing took 2 sheets of sandpaper to sand out, so I sanded it all dry. So I was there's a saving in sandpaper if nothing else. And definitely can do it in one day. It's a one day sand out. Now there's a couple of spots I'm sure are going to need a little touch up. But the beautiful part is when you're doing acrylic covers a lot more mistakes than dope does. So let me get this canopy masked off, we'll do a little test. We can see what we have here so far. Up a pattern for the canopy. This of course is 2 IBM cards. I looked in my box of patterns. I used to have a canopy for the Killer Bee paint job. I don't have it, so I'm going to have to make a new one. And in this kind of a turtle deck, my feeling is the bigger and shinier and more outstanding the canopy is, the better. Also, I always like to make the canopy a color that appears nowhere else on the plane. Some of the old planes I used to use candy apple green or whatever. I don't know what colors I'm going to make this yet. I haven't even decided. I can make this a little longer. But typically, if the canopy's a little bit bigger, I think it just looks kind of neat. Now, of course, the old paper doll trick here. And you can change and alter it. I would suggest saving it in case you find a canopy shape that you really fall in love with. Don't let Midgley borrow it. Here's what I'm talking about, these canopies. I really like this shape. Obviously I don't have the pattern. This one here is one that I liked. Again, this was carved with a little bit of a bump. This one is the old 900, and this one had a kind of a nice swoop. Again, hey, Joe always has some nice, if you're going to do a painted on canopy, certainly one alternative way to do it. These are the old candy apple red line of planes, and they had the green canopy. The green doesn't appear anywhere else on a plane except down in the little accent stripes. Anyway, always make up a little pattern. It's easier, and it's easy to keep it symmetrical. Without a pattern, you forget it. See how Bob painted his canopy on here, kind of an orange gold, faded in, fogged in. Nice job. I always like to look around just to get some ideas, some feel for the color before I actually commit to making a canopy. You can really change the whole look of the plane. Now, Tsunami had 2 different canopies at 2 different times, so it really is one way to, to customize the plane. So let's get over there and start working on it. I gotta get enough little holes in it. This way I can move it forward, back. Make sure it's centered. And of course you get plenty of choices here. All you have to do is move the tape. And what this will show me is if we really do need another base coat underneath, or if we'll be able to paint right over this. Acrylic, remember, covers just a little bit better than dope does, a lot. But it's heavy, so you have to try to use the minimum amount. Now the old trick you can use is you can lay the canopy right out, let the tape press its way up through, and that will give you a mask without using any extra pieces of tin foil. You see the tape leaves a nice impression. And we just slit that out, tape it off, and we got it in one piece. Got the impression right in the tin foil. Okay, ready to go outside and paint.
See, the wind is blowing out of LA. Hurricane City.
Oh, get down there. Look at this wind. Okay, now once that dries, if it doesn't blow off the table here, we'll, whoops, look at this. Whoa! Whoa, look at this. You believe this? Caught on camera. Windy loses a plane. I'll tell you, being a movie producer is some job. We're going to put an accent color on this if it doesn't blow away. Maybe a couple accent colors. I'm going to try to paint this on the ground, I think. And this is kind of a purpley blue that I'm using for accent color. Now the whole trick to doing this is to get it on, get the line that you want, and at the last second, just pull the gun away. And that'll leave the fogging in. As Essence of Emerald would say, we want to take it up a notch. What I do, I have some black, and I want to just fog in the edge. I just want a little bit to spill out over onto the canopy. Give me an accent. I don't really want to make the edge black, just have the fogging go right over the edge. And that's what makes it look really three-dimensional. Okay. Last thing, before this all dries up, really dry, you want to get at least one light coat of clear on top of everything, just so all your little fogging, the reason for that is fogging, otherwise where you touch it with your finger, you'll see there'll be fingerprints in the fogging. Just that last little blend, you seal it with one coat of clear, and you're home free all. And usually that'll bring the colors right to life, the true color that you're going to have. So if you want to change it, want to darken it, lighten it, whatever, gives you a real good chance to do that. Well, we'll leave this out here to dry 10-15 minutes or so. Alright, while that's drying up, that was a little chunky. It won't matter because in the mold I can just sand that out. I want to get some water primer on this and I can get Dave's mold started. Now I'm going to try this as an alternative to using the lacquer auto primer since I already have the can. And I want to really try this for the reason of seeing that if this is going to be compatible with the molding rubber that I have in stock right now. Now this stuff really goes on good and thick, so I'm going to put this out in the sun to dry, sand it, probably needs 3 or 4 coats, and then we'll make up the plug for the rubber mold. You can see some of the little imperfections in the wood, but they'll all fill in with the auto primer. One thing nice, this primer dried up real quick, just less than an hour. So what I'm going to do is just lightly sand it down. Take it outside, give it 3 or 4 more coats, maybe an hour or so apart. And while this is drying, I can be pretty much laying out the paint job on the other plane. Alright, I'm just laying out some rough tape here, trying to figure out exactly what I want to do just to get some trim ideas.
God's love be in need of working all the days, the very days. But it's soon. Well, you told me you started. You lost your blue love. But now that baby saggy blue. To have the chance to take back the hand. I'd like to do it again. This man is crazy. Sam with Jupiter's back at home with his Beatles and his Stones. I wanna hear carry that news.
Okay, except for the canopy, it's all masked off, and that's it for today. We'll be back working on this beautiful project tomorrow. See you then. Okay, what I did this morning, I got the canopy masked off. I didn't want to put that tape on relatively new paint. And this is ready to spray now. I want to mix up some red, get outside and shoot this. This is the beginning of the day, so that it'll have pretty much the whole day to dry before Karen gets home. Well, I just ran a little test just to see. It's really blowing out there. It's going to be difficult to videotape anything, but that looks like it's going to cover fine. What I wanted to determine is if I was going to need silver underneath it. Now this is hand-mixed paint. This has plenty of pigment in it. When you have a lot of pigment, you really can eliminate the silver, at least on that part of it, with red. This is the problem. The wind is really blowing out here. So what I've tried to do, I don't know that you can use this to your own advantage. I've tried to block myself in between the hedge and the house to try to keep, well, to keep the wind from blowing me away. Anyway, we'll see if we can get some of this painted today. Now this is for sure the hardest thing to try to do is paint when the wind is blowing. I don't even know if we're going to be able to.
trying to do is use the sun. Well, I really can't. I don't know if you can see, but this looks like it's going to need, well, we're in the shadow down. We're definitely going to need 2 coats of red on this. Now as I'm spraying this, I'm seeing that I really could, this is definitely going to need 2 coats of red. So what I'm going to try to do is get the first coat of red on early today, put this out in the sun to dry, flip it over after a couple of hours, and maybe tonight I can just steel wool or sand this down just a little bit, just gradually. So I'll actually be using this first coat, maybe even almost as a filler coat. I'm just letting that dry. I want to go put a little more thinner in the paint. For sure, I'm trying to analyze. For sure this is going to need 2 coats, but again, if you put the silver underneath, you usually can beat the system on this coat, but what I'm trying to do is get the weight really down on this and try and eliminate one of the steps. Okay, we got 1 coat on here. It's kind of dry to the touch. I'm going to put that away till later today or tomorrow and get a second coat on. Now one of the things we've picked up on making these little rubber molds is not to get the edge too close, because then the rubber gets too thin, and to try to get the box that we have plenty of depth so we can spin this over, of course, and keep, well, not spin it over, so we can keep this nice and level. This plug sanded out pretty nice. Then I'm going to glue this right into position. 3 inches will just, 3-inch wood will just do it. Okay, that's glued in place. I'm just working on finalizing the box.
The last time I'll ever play that game off the piano. Eddie, no. Remember, Elsa? What do you think, Mr. Big Bill? I told you were wonderful, Mr. Cantor.
Now this is the way, if you haven't seen how we've been doing this, this has worked pretty well. Always want to have the plug on the bottom if possible to avoid air bubbles, and give yourself enough wall thickness. In fact, this looks like it's going to be tight just as it is because I'm trying to use 3-inch wood. Now this is the last of the 7430 rubber. I poured what remains of both cans A and B into 1 can. It's equal parts A and B, so it's pretty easy. There's no measuring or anything. A couple of coats of release agent on that just to be sure. I hope by tomorrow we'll have a mold. We can cast one of these cowls up from Italy. Now one of the tricks with this rubber is always, after you think it's mixed, mix it for another 5 minutes. Especially scraping the sides, I can feel it's not well mixed on the sides. Kind of a chewing gummy looking color. Now there's really not many reverse cuts on this mold, so I'm hoping it's going to be relatively easy to get this demolded. But there definitely is no guarantee. Yeah, we got enough material here. In fact, we got plenty. And this will just add one more piece to our repertoire of things that we can mold. Actually, this will probably fit a normal cardinal too. You can just pour the rest of this junk in there. A nice big fat mold. Anyway, we'll put this outside to dry. This is a 24-hour dry. When we come back to it, Midgley should have his cowl mold. Okay, in today's mail, some neat stuff from Noel Drindak. Profile Mustang by Bill Hummel. Scott Smith design derived from a Prowler, higher aspect ratio and longer moments. Scott Smith foam wing, Stalker 40. Nice invasion stripes. Hey, now see, this is the kind of stuff I love. Look, he's even got the invasion stripes on the gear doors. Looks good. I'd like to see how that motor's going to run, by the way. That's one of the motors that I think has some future, some promise here. It's a Stalker 40. Now this is from Noel Drindak too. Check out the paint job he copied off of Mr. Goodwrench. And I'm just going to read the little notation. The Goodwrench 4Runner by Noel Drindak. Silver Fox 40 by Lou Willard. And he mentions that it's an extremely strong motor. Original style plywood nose crutch. Half-inch plywood crutch with 1/8-inch doublers. So that's a total of 3/4-inch plywood. I guess that won't break, huh? Scott Smith foam wing core. Ball bearing bell crank. Carbon fiber push rods with Rocket City ball links. Carbon fiber mat on the stab and fuselage. And it looks really nice. And here's another picture of it. Really nice looking. So obviously I'll pass these on. Now I guess Tom Morris is the one to pass them on to. Really nice. Looks good. Noel, thanks a whole lot. Keep writing that good stuff for Stunt News. Appreciate it. Now this is from our former compadre and now California San Diego pilot Ron Cook. You can check out his workbench here for some ideas. He's got the drawers buried under the bench. Nice. So obviously he spent about $3,000 on carbon props so far. Shop vac, little sander, nice little workbench. Here's another picture of it. And this is you can see on the workbench. This is his latest ship is a Trivial Pursuit tune pipe ship. And as always, Ron's paintwork, just really unbelievably nice. Now I think I might be wrong. I think he had the original one he made. I think had an accident, but I'm not sure if this is the same one. Anyway, really nice paintwork as always. Walt Prey Midgley kind of paintwork, really nice. Ron Cook, hey, I hope we get to see you at the Nats, guy. Adamusco dropped this off with me. This is the Philly Flyers official newsletter, and it's got directions to the club field, photographs, little news here and there. But this is real nice, color photographs, and of course Joe Adamusco, just to mention a few. This looks like now imagine this. These guys have a color newsletter and Pampa doesn't. This looks really nice. Now, I've never been down to their field yet. That's one of the things we're going to try to get down and look at a little Philly Flyers cake. Only one problem, I think. I'm not sure. I have to check if their contest conflicts with Flushing, where we already have a commitment. So, hey, if it does, next year, don't make it a conflict. Picnic photos. Hey, looks good. Here's a picture of Banjack. He was just recently caught shoplifting in a store. Shoplifting Piper Cub decals or something. Anyway, that's really nice. And Banjack, we're just kidding. You're not going away for 20 years. Well, this is like the 5th day in a row that we have had nothing but crappy wind. Unbelievable. No, doesn't even pay to put the plane in the car. So what I'm going to do, I got a little bit of time here. I want to make a little bit more improved version of my birdhouse. It's unbelievable. It'll be a great weather. Original thing we started with, and we have the birds eating out of here real nice now. They're real happy with this, but you can see it's not too elaborate. And what happens, the Blue Jays can't get in here, the Cardinals come, they can't get in here, so I want to make kind of a wedding cake arrangement. Well, I don't know yet what I want to make. I'm going to use all scrap wood up. At the end of
end of another stormy hurricane, blown away, things blowing in the pond day. I'm going to start painting this up tonight. Try to get a coat of paint on it. I smell fajitas cooking upstairs though, so. Fajitas. You sure you're going to like this pink and green combination, huh? Karen has selected Victorian colors for our soon-to-be complete birdhouse. 4 coats of sanding sealer, sanded between coats, sprayed a silt. Nah, not really, just brush on the latex. Color pink?
Yeah, that's our dining room though, Wendy. That is not the doll.
I don't know, it looks like the dollhouse paint
No,
to
the
me.
doll's much darker.
Oh, we're done, we'll put them together and see. Now today we pulled Dave's plug out of the mold, and one of the things that we learned in the course of doing this, Rust-Oleum primer is not really the best choice here, even though it will work. A lot of the primer stayed in the mold and the mold came apart, but you know, we don't really need this. Even if we needed it, we could repair it. And we did manage to get a clean enough mold. I think we're going to be able to get some of the little primer and stuff stayed inside the mold. Again, the choice here would have been, a better choice than using the dry release agent would have been possibly to give this 10 coats of PVA. So rather than take a chance, right now I'm going to start getting coats of PVA on here so we can cast one of these up today. A nice 1 coat of PVA in there so far. Usually I'll give it 2 or 3 before I actually lay up the part.
I got it.
So let's hear the good news. Now the good news today is we're at Middlesex. It looks almost flyable. Actually, it's a great day. And Joe has some good news. He's now working for Boeing. And we're going to know all about the VTOL, the VSTOL.
The VM-22 Osprey, the new
Oh my God.
Marine tilt wing twin rotor vertical takeoff troop carrier.
Fantastic.
26 Marines.
I can't wait to get me the plans to it.
Hey, it might make a nice twin engine job.
Hey. All right, we're on the last day, what I hope is going to be the last day of testing Tigers. And hopefully the next time you see this plane, it'll have the double star in there. Oh, I don't need the battery and we're all set.
Do you mean you need a battery or something?
Yeah, that's good news about the job, man.
Oh, yeah, cool.
All right, let's fly.
There is good and shifty, boy. Hey, how you doing? Good and shifty.
Nice, Triumph.
It's the kiss of death, I know it.
Beautiful.
Morning.
Hi.
I was just out in Pennsylvania all week.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Let's go.
Aliquippa,
Okay, that
Mahagahiga River.
Monongahela River, yeah, I'm headed that way this weekend. You know, that's Mike Ditka's hometown,
For sure.
Aliquippa.
That's right.
Oh, good Polish guy.
Hi, Keith Ferguson's here with the Jim Sohavy Nobler. And of course, we're getting some trim flights on this. Air is shifty, 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 so we're being really extra careful about it, but we are making some progress.
Just I didn't want to drag the handle over the past the fault.
Well, Joe, you hit every button on the side of the camera. I got the high-speed shutter on.
I know.
I got the naked women dancing part of this, the time, the date, the year.
Pictures of my shoes on that.
I don't even know how to shut some of this stuff off. I hope this doesn't appear on the screen. Unbelievable. Keith, I'll tell you, when you pay minimum wage, you know what you get? Boeing's not going to get their money's worth out of this guy.
Famous politicians.
Yeah, we're going to see Chelsea's first opera or what? What's going on here?
Trying to hold you back.
And a whole lot of
Oh, gosh.
politicians out there.
So what happened? The muffler pressure, the fitting stripped
Yeah, the
out?
nut come
Can you
off.
put a nut inside of it?
Yeah, I did, and that vibrated loose.
Oh, it's soft
I
aluminum.
haven't done any maintenance on this since I test flew it. So
Oh, okay. Well, that's the program I like. Let's fly and hell with maintenance. No maintenance at all. Now, what is that, a Max 32?
Weber 30.
A Weber 32, and you reworked it? Or is this Randy?
Randy reworked it,
Randy Smith reworked.
and then I had to change the Venturi because it wouldn't run right.
Okay.
So it seemed to run pretty good without pressure with the rework. You know, and I made the carburetor like the one that was in there.
I like it with the spray bar going right down through the motor, no fooling around. The Pilot still looks good.
Yeah, Yeah.
So Havey's going to be depressed when he finds out you painted over all his arrowhead trims.
Well,
I'm going to send him some video.
he can come in.
He's going to come in and
He can
fly
bring
it
his
for you.
tablet.
Jim, if you're watching, Keith has no respect.
I don't know what's going on.
First, he refuses to judge at the Nats. He refuses to pay his dues. He doesn't pay his Middlesex dues.
I'm inactive.
He's inactive. And they hold a bicycle auction at his house.
There. Screw it. I mean, I
What's
tried-
wrong with that? Paint it. Just paint it. Paint it with a brush even. When it's out in the sun, you won't see it. What, did it bubble up? I remember when you called me.
It
It bubbled
started
up?
cracking and bubbling and
Yeah.
pulling away. It's a freaking hard time with that.
Looks nice, though. How much is this weigh?
Not too bad. It's like
This is Steve's design, right?
yeah.
Looks real nice. You fly it yet?
Yeah, I got about 3 flights on it.
All right. Well, whenever you're ready. I don't know who's ready over there. Keith is playing, figure out how to fuel the plane up. Joe's trying to put his muffler pressure fitting on.
I got a couple.
And I've already had a flight, so.
I got an adjustable rudder.
Yeah. That won't hurt.
I got an adjustable trim tab here.
That's a good
Never
idea.
able to build a straight wing, you know.
You must have learned off of my tapes.
I learned something.
It's good. You know, if you put a trim tab on a plane, the wing guaranteed will be straight.
I hear you, man.
Guaranteed. It'll
never built.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no doubt about it.
I'm still working on the Jaguar at home.
I'll tell you, Joe, I love doing maintenance at home a lot more than on the field. You got an extra muffler or you want one of
Yeah,
mine?
but see, this is a pipe fitting. I'm not sure whether the nut, I had a nut on that or it just stripped out of the hole here.
I'd put a nut on it even if it's stripped.
No, that's a pipe fitting. A 440 doesn't thread on. What do you have?
No, it's a 632.
You got a 632?
Let me see. It may not even be a 632. That's an 832.
You got anything rolling around your butt?
Nothing 832. I don't use 832 screws for anything. It's an old trick. Even if you, I'm going to put this on the video, even if you thread this into a tongue muffler or a barrel, you should always get inside and put a nut on because you're only catching about 2 or 3 threads.
Do you have a spare nut?
You can have that one.
Or can I have the fitting?
You can have the whole thing.
Okay, I'll return.
I mean, yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. But I wouldn't go with anything 832 because nobody carries 832 bolts with them. Get 632 stuff all the way. See, that's a problem with having oddball sizes on anything, metric sizes or anything.
Have
Ah,
no
the-
idea what
good-
the engine setting is, so.
All right, well, let's get a look at it. I got some Nobler canopies. I got some Aries canopies too. Real nice Aries canopies. Old Dave's cranking them out. Okay.
Thinking about molding a lollipop.
Get one.
Well, that's the fun of having a Schnurly power.
Get the turtle deck mold. Mold a piece of
You think you're the first one that has ever happened? Pictures of his shoes before. Oh man!
Well, see, I hit the power button, and it didn't go on.
You had every feature on the camera going. You know, the one that makes the women's clothes disappear, the bras come off. Oh man, Joe Adamusko, what a guy! Now listen, Flight 800, you had nothing to do with that. They didn't hire you before that went in, huh? I don't know. Can't trust guys that work for Boeing. Mr. Awesome. Hey, little thing here. Keith has this motor that had a lean run. It had a lean run. When did it have a lean run? Last week, Keith?
Yeah, last flight.
When you see this black stuff coming out of an engine, this is usually the rod, not always, eating itself up from a lean run. So what we're going to do is fill this up and run it on the ground and see if we can get the oil to come out clean. Usually that'll take 1 or 2 runs. And then not fly it, because with that coming out like that, I would not want to take a chance it's going to shut off inverted or something crazy like that. Always better to run it on the ground till the oil is clean. giving Joe a hard time about the maintenance. Now that he works for Boeing, we don't want him tightening any bolts or anything. Anyway, glad to see he got a job. Unemployment stinks around here. They still want that 8-10 grand a year in taxes and all that nonsense, boy. It's unbelievable. Anyway, we got a nice little group going here. We're going to try to get some footage. I don't know how long we're going to have to be involved until we run out of camera battery or run out of tape or run out of something. And this is clearly not a great day, but it's the best day. The wind is shifty, but it's the best day we've had all year. We haven't had anything really to even worth shooting videotape on. And I've been playing with the handle adjustment, going in, coming out, trying to get it equal. It seems like it turns a little bit tighter inside than outside, not enough to even worry about. It's a notch or two on the handle. Nothing I'm going to fool with now until we get the motor in there that we want to use. And what we'll probably do at the end of this day is take that motor with the needle set and the tank shim marked exactly where it was. Even though we have to reshim the tank, I'll have it marked, put it in a plastic bag, and that'll be our number 2 backup motor for the Nats. And then we're hopefully going to get, I don't know, I haven't heard any status on if Jim is going to be doing motors again. Hope I'll get at least one real fresh one by the Nats. If not, I'll have to pirate one out of one of the other planes. And of course, we really want to give some time to that double star. As soon as we get that in, we can go back to 4 and 5 bladed props and puttering around and all things we usually enjoy doing at this part of the year. Actually, this is the first day of the year. I think we've been in t-shirts. Maybe 1 or 2 other days the most, but it's warming up. And it really is good to get away from the house, away from all that planting and dirt and mulch and fertilizer and fish food and cleaning fish filters and birds. Having fun feeding those birds, no doubt about that. And we'll be finishing this tape out. I guess we're pretty near the end now. I'm looking at the marker. We'll finish it out at the field here. We'll pick this up. Memorial Day weekend, we'll probably get some nice barbecuing done with the family. The kids come over and who knows what. And I think we're going to try to get Johnny O a Tiger 46 for his plane. He's not having a lot of good luck with the FP. What's nice about having people like Joe that are willing to loan a motor to you so you can get your new plane in the air. Get cranking and flying instead of puttering. What have I mentioned? Here comes the wind now. What have I mentioned? Dave Midley's just sent me some whole box of canopies, Nobler canopies and Seafire canopies, and I think there's some Aries canopies in there. I gotta look. So we got a pretty good stock on canopies now for anybody waiting to build one. And I hope what really is going to happen is that we're in the beginning of the flying season now. We're going to be getting out to the field more and more. Some more prop testing done. And ultimately getting ready for the Nats and the team trials. Yeah, I think a nice Tiger 46 in here, John. You'll be all set.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of good fuel too.
Well, try my fuel on the next flight. You can use, yeah, it's 5%. That's what you want, 5%.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
Use my fuel for the rest of the day. I got plenty. And use that stuff you got for like breaking in engines or something.
Yeah, I got like a gallon. make it out flying again this weekend, or you?
Nah, yard work the rest of the weekend. Karen's got me booked. She said I can go today, but that's it. Family stuff.